These are all channels, like on a mixer, mixing desk. Each one's a channel, and it's called the session view because you can just. I'll throw in a few clips so you kind of know what I'm talking about. Yeah, like you can just. So you have controllers like this lad here, and like each of them will control one of the clips, so you just hit play and it just fires it off. So when you're starting to make tracks, it's handy to use this mode because you can just kind of get ideas together. So that's what I normally do. So we'll throw in a few things here. Does everyone know the difference between audio and MIDI? Just to start off.
Yeah.
The audio is makes sound, and MIDI doesn't actually make any noise.
Oh my god, turn it off. Do not start.
So Ableton comes with, well, Ableton's sweet anyway, not if you get like a cracked shitty copy of Ableton, it might not come with all these instruments, but the proper version that you pay for does. And this one here called Simpler is just a really handy, easy little sampler instrument. So you pop in one of those and then find a drum sample. So let's take a pick. Yeah, that'll do. So now you have a kick, but you have nothing to kind of tell the kick what to do. So you have to create a MIDI clip. You just right click and it comes up there, insert MIDI clip. So this is what's telling your kick what to do, and just standard 4/4 kick drum pattern. Like that. Yeah, so obviously each of these, it divides this, the more you zoom out. This is called the piano roll, and that's basically how you do all the MIDI. All the percussion and synths and everything is all done in this. You can zoom out the lengths like that and make longer loops or shorter loops. For kick drum all we need is this, so we'll do like that. I'll go into more about EQing and all that after we just get a few simple things in. Also, if I'm going too fast or anyone has any questions along the way, just shout at me because I'm not exactly a teacher. So there's loads of Ableton shortcuts as well that you should learn because they make everything way handier and way quicker. Like a new MIDI clip is when you have Mac or PC for Mac, it's Command Shift and T, and an audio clip is Command and T. So they're pretty handy. You can download different things. Little kind of images which show you all the shortcuts. So yeah, you should learn them because they make things go quicker. So now you generally have a hi-hat above the kick. Standard Pepsi kind of pattern. You should also learn the difference between anyone here know about 808s and 909s and the difference between them? Yeah, they're two really famous Roland drum machines that were made in the 80s, and they're basically like most kind of drum sounds in dance music start from both these drum machines, unless they're like pre-recorded. They're just really famous sounds that you've heard everywhere, like the 808 cowbell. If anyone listens to like the new bassy dubstep shit, that's everywhere. Like the snares, the 808 snare is really famous. So, yeah, cowbell. Then like the 909 clap.
Yeah.
Or like that really raw kind of housey 90s Chicago house hi-hat. You just kind of get to know the 808 and 909 samples. So there's just a standard 909 open hi-hat. Let's go to the shit. Like the completely basic, it sounds horrible, like that's the really basic just hi-hat pattern. But you can make it a lot nicer by just doing a few really simple things. These little lads here, this is the velocity, and I basically like more or less the volume of it. So like how, so you can do it little, if you turn on the velocity in here, this one here says, you can see that. And then you can put in lots of different volumes. See that? So this gives a lot more swing. Still pretty shitty, but we'll leave that for now. I'll put in a snare as Jeremy next when it comes in, or a clap. So just on the 2 and the 4. Is this all simple enough so far? Yeah. Good. So then now we have just a clap on the 2 and the 4. So now, if we kind of go into a bit more detail on the simpler here, you can change a lot of settings, change pretty much everything. It's kind of like samplers are just like synths that you put in, like that. This thing here, attacks, decay, sustain, release. Can I actually see that from up there, or is it really blurry?
No,
Yeah. Okay, anyway.
I'll go find a lamp.
There's a thing called, that basically, the thing that controls all synths is this little graph here, which is the attack, decay, sustain and release. So synths and samplers and everything. And the attack is basically just, it just controls what noise comes out of the thing basically. So the attack is how quickly the sound comes in, then the decay is how quickly it goes from that to, normally playing, then the sustain is how long it plays for, and the release is how long it kind of fades out, if you know what I mean. It makes more sense if I just play it for you, so I'll just mess with these settings here. So this is all I had with no attack. So no attack means it's going to come straight in. If I turn off the attack, it kind of starts to fade in. Hear that? So it's kind of starting to fade in instead of coming straight off. And then release, it gives a tail on it. So we don't really want a tail for a hi-hat. So we tighten it up. So it still sounds pretty shitty, but it's alright. So is everyone going to understand that concept of attack, decay, sustain, release? I'll show you on the synth now, seeing as I'm talking about it. This synth here is a really nice. It's just a really handy synth. It's really kind of easy to look at, easy to learn. It's called Silent. You can buy it online. And just really handy. Like really, as synths go, it is quite simple to learn. So you can see up here at the top in the middle, the attack, decay, sustain, release. Same thing there, and down here as well. 2 more. So it does control basically everything. So I'll put something here just to show you this. Keyboard with that handy. Will I keep going, or do you want to go over it? Will I try and put a bass line in, maybe? Okay, so the most kind of famous bass line synth is the 303, which is made by the same guy that made the 909. And it's a like really famous acid sound. You'll know when you hear it. So it's like this. Well, not that. But. That kind of, you know, acid sounds. But like, yeah, all over acid house and now in kind of like new Monica Scoop shit as well. So I'll put in some kind of simple. Actually, no, fuck that. I'll use silence, but it's easy to explain. Alright, so here's you can spend like hours and hours learning about synthesis, but there's a few things you can learn that will get you away with most things, and it's just the oscillators and the filters basically. So these two things here, the oscillators are what make the sound. So it comes in here. Now these are defined by the ASDR thing, and then it comes down here through into the filter, and that controls the filter there. So it's basically making the sound, and then you control that with the filter, and then if you want to afterwards, you can modulate it with LFOs and the modulation envelopes. That's a bit fancier. So let's do a really simple bass thing. So what you find a lot with bass, especially in like kind of house and tech housey stuff, is they often don't have bass notes where it's a kick drum. So they won't have a bass note on the one. They might have one on the two, and they don't have one on the three. So it's kind of the bass line tries to kind of weave around the kick drum instead of sit on top of it, because if the two sounds the same, then they don't sound as good as one on their own. Yeah. So yeah, those are like the kind of tech housey bass lines, or that kind of rhythm there. But it's not kind of kick drum there. Basically, yeah, once the filter's cutting off, how much, like, if it's completely open, it doesn't cut off anything. If it's completely closed, you don't hear anything. So, put it there. Resonance is that kind of sounds. It's kind of hard to explain, but you know the sounds. That kind of real sweepy sounds. So, generally don't want too much resonance on a simple bass line. Normally with bass lines you have a little bit of attack, just so they're not too violent. Everyone understand everything there? Or any questions? I kind of skipped a few things there, but like every synth is different. Every synth on a laptop basically makes the same noise. There's like hundreds of different synths, but they're all like digital noises, so none of them really sound any different. So there's no point in going and spend a lot of money or taking a lot of time trying to find a really rare synth, because if it's on a laptop, they all more or less sound the same. So I just go for something like Silence, which is pretty easy to get your head around, instead of something that everyone else is using, because they all make the same noise at the end. Like analog synths are all different, but these are all just trying to be analog synths, and they all end up sounding the same, basically. So yeah, just like it is kind of self-explanatory, like volume control that controls how much the volume wants to be. Phase is so it's making the tone just like a simple tone. The phase is where it starts to make the tone, if you know what I mean. It doesn't really affect that. You don't really use that one that much. Detune is just obviously detunes it, and if you detune the second one, then it just kind of makes it a little bit bigger because it makes it vibrate a little bit. Stereo just gives it stereo widths. Pan is obviously left and right. Oh, sorry, yeah, I forgot the waveforms. That's a bit important. Alright, so it's basically there's two kind of main waveforms that are in use in dance music. It's the saw wave here, which is this noise, and that's a sine wave. So those two different waves basically define a lot of dance music and why synths sound differently, because it's depending on the waveform. So that kind of synth, that sine wave is really kind of clean, and like a lot of like really deep bass lines and sub bass lines will generally be sine waves because they just have to be clean and they don't really have to have any kind of flavour. But any harder stuff will be saws. Like a lot of like electro house and all that kind of stuff is saw waves because it just sounds bigger. It's more kind of aggressive. There's a few other ones, like loads of different ones depending on synths, like triangle, which is half of saw and half of sine. This is all maths shit, I don't understand sine waves and saw waves. You can look it up, but you don't really need to. Just need to know what they sound like. Pulse wave, H pulse, that's what these are. It's just white noise. White noise for like creating build and stuff. Every synth will have different amount of types of wave it has, but generally saw and sine are the standard ones. So I just learned them first. And the basic difference is that sine is a lot cleaner and saw is more kind of aggressive. So this one is one of each. So that's just kind of a pretty simple bass line. See how that sounds with the rest of it. Yeah, I forget every time. Very top left is your master tempo, and it always starts every project at 120 is default. So I always end up doing that for ages and then forgetting it's not so. So we'll go up to like 127. Alright, so that's kind of a simple enough house loop. Anyone got any questions so far? No? Everyone know how to do that perfectly? Yeah. Alright, okay. Let's start talking about this really important thing called a compressor, which is used all over the place in dance music. Not so much in other music, but in dance music it's a big thing. For a few reasons. They are really complicated, and I don't understand half of it, especially the science of it, but you just can't understand what each thing does, and you don't have to go into the science of it. That's alright. So, the compressors make a thing called side shake compressions. I'll just show you before I explain it, because it's just easier. Yeah, also generally with synths, you're better off not using presets. Generally with everything, you're better off not using presets because it just makes it too easy and you don't learn anything about the synths. So then you can't actually make your own sounds or know why it's making that sound. So whatever synth you get, just kind of ignore the presets and just make the sounds from scratch yourself and look up online about how to make whatever sound you want. But there'll be threads on every forum like how to sound like Skrillex, how to sound like David Guetta, whatever. Not so many about good people, but yeah, like you'll find somewhere online and how to find the exact sound you want. So stop all using presets because it's just a waste of time. So what I was talking about sidechain compression is what makes this noise, and you'll hear the difference instantly. Yeah, this is the most. And yeah, they use that everywhere, especially like old Swedish house backing and stuff is all massive sidechain compressed stuff. And basically, what a compressor does is, can I make this bigger? It basically it sets a threshold, and if the music gets any louder than that, it stops it. It just like squashes it down and makes it quieter. So you use it on. You can use it everywhere. You shouldn't really, because it makes everything sound deadly, but like doesn't actually make the. I don't know. It's a long story, but it does make things sound nice. So this is the kick drum. If we lower the threshold, you'll see this little bar here. This is the gain reduction. So this is how much volume is taken off. So it makes it kind of sound a bit bigger. It's hard to, I'll have to do it in audio to show you. So if I, so I'm just doing this to kind of demonstrate what it does. Okay, so this is what the kick drum looks like without compression. This isn't a very good demonstration of it, but so that's the kick drum in audio terms, like that's the waveform of it. So after I put a compressor on it, it starts to look like that. You know, it just flattens out everything. Like it takes away the highs and the lows and just makes it all more even, which isn't really a good thing in music, because it means there's not, like, the quieter parts are louder and the louder parts are quieter, so there aren't as much dynamics. But in certain contexts, it helps. So yeah, so you can see the difference there. That's without the compressor. There's the loud bits, it's the quiet bits, and here with the compressor, everything's a lot more even. Like there's no really dips, you know. So that's what a compressor does. And what a sidechain compressor does is the only difference is another source tells it when to turn on and off, if you know what I mean. So if you sidechain something to a kick drum, it'll only compress it when the kick drum's playing. So that's why you get that whack, whack, whack sound, because it's turning on when the kick drum is there. So it makes if there's a synth and a kick drum, it basically turns off the synth whenever the kick drum's there to make the kick drum sound bigger. I'm pretty terrible at explaining this, but I hope that kind of makes sense. So. that's sidechain compression. You basically use that to make your tracks kind of gel together, so there aren't loads of things like on top of each other. Everything you can give things more space by sidechaining to other things. So if you want, like, so what you generally do is sidechain your bass line to your kick, so that the kick stands out. So I'll do that here and show you the difference. Hopefully you'll be able to hear it. So here's the. This is the bass line on the kick with no sidechain compression. You see on the 2 and the 4, the bass line is sitting on top of the kick, so they're both kind of clashing and they don't have room for themselves. So if you're sidechaining it, see the kick sounds bigger because it has more space on its own. That's not a perfect example, but yeah. Make this like track. Yeah, alright, so that's sidechain compression. I hope everyone kind of understands that. Do you want to take over in half an hour or just do what you want to start here? Alright, okay. So that's baseline. We'll make some chord stabs, because that's what this is about. Actually, I'll do some sampling shit to teach you how to sample stuff. Okay, so let's find a track to sample. Right, I'll find it somewhere. Where this?
Don't want no short dick, man.
It's a daddy 90s track. That's ridiculous. I'll play the original.
Want no short dick, man. Don't.
Yeah, so yeah, let's talk about that. So I'll show you about warping and stuff here as well. So yeah, when you import something into Ableton, an audio file, like any track, if you're making a mix in Ableton or whatever, or sampling stuff, it'll come up like this. What you want to notice here is the warp settings, where I have the mouse on there, there's a few of them, and it's just basically a different algorithm of how it treats the sound, and so they all make it sound a bit different. Repitch is like the standard kind of vinyl record thing that if it slows it down, it changes the pitch as well. But that preserves most of the sound quality, so it's generally the best. So if you're not changing the tempo a lot, you generally use repitch. So these little yellow plugs here are warp markers, and they're kind of the same as like a beat read tractor or whatever. So they're what tells Ableton where the beats are. So we find the first beat of it. We'll just so that there is the first beat, I think.
Don't want no short dick, man.
Yeah, so you can just set a warp marker at the start, just double click and it drops one. And then right click and say set 1 here, so that's just start the track. So you can skip any stuff at the intro or whatever, and that'll work up from there. And this one looks alright because it's.
Don't want no short dick, man. Don't want no short dick. You need to put your pants back on, honey. Don't. You need to put your pants back on. Don't want no short dick, man.
So let's take a loop from there. So to make a loop, you just highlight it and hit Command L, and that'll just make a loop. And then if you don't want the rest of the track, you can right click it and just hit Crop Sample, and it'll take that, just this bit here. There's loads of other daily things you can do, like if you right click and you can hit slice to MIDI track, and if you drop a word marker on, let's say,
Don't want no
dumps,
don't want no short. Don't want no short dick.
that's dick there,
Don't want no short dick, man.
that's man. Right click and hit slice to MIDI track. It'll basically slice it up and just take.
Don't want dick. Bam, bam, bam.
So it'll slice it up like that.
Don't want no.
So, and it'll give you this as well, so you can just mess around with this.
Don't want no short dick, man. 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 Don't want no short dick. Don't want no short dick.
This is shite. I told you that.
Don't.
Yeah, that's terrible, but just to show you a bit of chopping samples, it's really easy in Ableton, it's really handy for that. And then again, you can control how much the samples are here. And now you can hear the volume of the clips is all over the place. So instead of just going into these and changing them manually, if you just slap a compressor on it, which is the wrong way to do it, it'll set a bit, even if the volume's a bit. So the quiet ones will go louder, the louder ones will go quieter. So now we can treat this a little bit and make it sound a bit nicer, but that's always going to sound a bit rough. So generally for vocals and stuff, if you put a bit of reverb on it, it'll sound better. I put the reverb after the compressor as well, because in the chain, like in the effects chain, which you can't really see here, it's in dim notes. Like in the effects chain, so this is like compressor, then reverb, or you can have whatever delays or EQs, whatever. It all goes in order, so it'll sound different depending what order you have all the effects in. Generally, depending what sound you want, generally EQ will go first, then compressor, then whatever effects you have after that. And if you put the reverb before the compressor, then it'll compress the reverb, which you generally want. What else you do want that sound? So we'll just put a bit of reverb on this. Oh yeah, in effects, dry and wet is the dry signal is the signal without any effects on it, and the wet is just a completely effective signal. So you can turn off the dry, turn off the wet, and you get the reverb. Or turn off the wet and turn off the dry, you only get the non-reverb. So that goes for pretty much all effects across the board. Dry is unaffected and wet is affected, so you can have whatever mix you want of them. Yeah, also if you're using Ableton, don't use the built-in effects because they're all shite. Like look online and download different reverbs and EQs and compressors and delays, because all the ones that come with Ableton are terrible and they make stuff sound horrible. So we'll pop EQ on this, make it a bit nicer again. So this is what parametric EQs. It just gives you a lot more control than something like this would. You can enjoy your curve. bunch of frequencies there. I feel like I'm just talking away and losing everyone. So do people have questions, or is this still simple-ish? No? Anyone? Yeah?
Do you know that dry and wet thing you're on about?
Yeah.
Is that how instrumentals are made? Out of like normal tracks? Because you took out the vocals.
Oh, no, you can kind of make, no, not really. Anyway, that's how you make
Like kind
instrumentals.
of acapella, but then you can't do the original track.
It's better
You're
to
back.
always have acapellas separate.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can get them, sometimes you can't get them.
Yeah.
Some people can EQ out all the other sounds, and it sounds like an acapella, but you still hear weird
Yeah, that
frequencies.
sounds a bit shit.
No, you can EQ it, but you're better off just getting it. When a song is made, like the acapella is recorded separately, and you'd be listening to the track in their headphones, so then that'll be recorded as a separate WAV, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So getting the acapella is better if you can.
And like back in, like, they don't really do it now as much, but back like in the 90s and stuff, they'd release the track with the acapella on. Like loads of old hip hop records have the normal track, the instrumental and the acapella for, I don't know, I think it's for like scratch or some shit.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, you can't really make an acapella out of a full track at all. Anything else? No? Okay. Should I try? So we'll make a little head stab into this, make things a bit nicer. In Ableton it has a handy little thing, presets. In here in MIDI effects, there's a thing called chord, which is pretty handy, and it just basically saves you the hassle of writing in the chords yourself. So you put that before the synth, and then all you have to do is pop in one note and I'll make a chord out of it. Yeah. There, so just this little effect here changes it from one note, it just pops a chord onto it. Like it's really easy to do yourself, and really is better, but if you're just being quick, then that is really handy. So this chord, we'll make this stab a little bit nicer. I'll try and teach you here about yeah, so you have the filter which I went over earlier, which is simple enough. Just it's just the same as any filter, like on this lot here. It's the same as that. Just filters the sound. But down here, it's things, well, there's LFO, which is,
Low frequency or something.
yeah, and it affects the signal. But so does these guys here, and depending on the synths, these can be different. But silence is really handy. With mod envelopes, and basically you can change anything about the sound. You can change anything depending on anything else. So what we'll do is change the cutoff, and you'll hear the difference now. So this is it normally. You can't see it because it's not automating it, but what it's doing is this guy here is actually moving this knob like up and then down again. So each time it hits, it just it changes the cutoff. So it's instead of just, so what it's doing is this. Just except it's doing it itself. You know what I mean? It'd be easier if I can control to explain it, but so by messing around with this, you can control pretty much anything and make any kind of sound. So that's a kind of really basic, really shit sounding house stuff. a real simple house job. It's just most kind of house pads are generally kind of just minor chords. So just in keyboard terms, you know, just a minor chord like A, C, E, and in kind of MIDI terms, it's semitones. So +3 semitones and then +7 semitones, which is a third and a fifth. I'm not going to probably go into music theory because it takes too long. But yeah, so like the majority of little stabs in house music are just minor chords or maybe minor sevens. So that sounds a bit shitty. So we'll put some delay in it and see how that sounds. So most delays again will have wet and dry. They might have a low cut and a high cut, which is just an EQ, and then they'll have something else called feedback, which is basically how long the sound goes on for. So it's going to go on for ages. The feedback's really high. So just a little bit of that. And then they'll also have a little setting telling you like in what rhythm it's going to play back in delay. Like you can do it manually yourself. Yeah, so normally they'll have options of like quarter notes or triplets or whatever. That sounds nice enough-ish. Yeah, so that's kind of a simple house tab with some delay in it. Any questions yet? No? Still everyone's, is it pretty easy? Yeah? I'm not really sure what I didn't explain well, so you'll have to tell me.
What was the second screen you were saying about Ableton?
Oh, sorry, yeah. So this is like the live screen that I'm doing this in because like everyone does it differently. But when I'm making music in Ableton, I just generally start in this screen because it's quicker and handy. But then when I'm actually putting the track together, you go into this screen, which is the arrangement view. And it took me ages to figure this out because I didn't read the manual. But if you press tab, then it transfers stuff over. So just hold tab and it'll bring everything over. Like they kind of the two views work together, so everything's already in there. You just have to bring the clips over. So put these lads in. So in here you can hear, like in session view, it basically plays in a loop. There's no, like, you have to tell everything when to stop and start. It won't do it for you. And in arrangement view, it's the opposite. It just plays like, you know, chronologically, that's the word. So from start to finish, basically. So you can program everything where it comes in this view. So we'll kind of make a bit of an arrangement here. Yes, it's just, you can just slot things into where you want them to come in. Obviously left or right is the way it goes, and these are kind of bar counters. So 5th bar, 9th bar, 13th, 17th bar, you can just kind of arrange it yeah, like it's, and then in this view as well, you can automate everything. These little red lines, they're automation, whatever they're called, and so you can change volumes of things, and all that. So yeah, you can go into like, you can automate the volumes, you can automate the synths themselves. So okay, to explain that, that'll bring in some white noise or something. Build up. So here's, yeah, that's just some white noise for when a kick drum comes out. So we'll automate the volume in it. So just over here, mixer, track volume, and this red line is basically the volume. So if you double click, you make a little dot, and that's just going to turn up the volume like that. So that's the start here, like volume's off. When you get further on, it turns up slowly. And then we want the volume to dip down again once it comes in, otherwise it's going to shite. So a bit like that. And then what we can also do to make it a bit nicer is if we put a filter on it, and we can also automate this filter. So here, since we put the filter in, it's popped up here, auto filter. We want, yeah. So device frequency is what we want to automate. Like you can automate every single parameter on it, but frequency is what we want to do. So we're basically going to just turn on the filter. And it's changing here in real time. So here you can see that. So we just want to turn up the. So yeah, you can see the filter moving there. And that's just what that's line doing. So I just come down to do that to make it a bit of a nicer build up. Yeah, and then, well, we need, generally when you have a build up and a drop, you generally just throw in a little crash on the end of the drop, just to make it sound a little better. So we should start with crash So let's drive this in. Yeah, that's a bit about the arrangement now. Any questions on that? Alright, so I think we'll can take over for a while. Anyone have any final questions?
Also, just to record live, like you and the other you
yeah.
Start pressing like play in each loop.
Yeah, like it'll there's this little button here. So it's that's back to arrangement. So you can have something playing in the arrangement view, go back into the session view, and play clips on top of it again. Yeah, so yeah, in this view you can hit record and then play whatever you want and it goes straight into the other view. So generally when I'm making tracks I'll do it all up in session view, make all my sounds and then kind of just hit record and loosely program them in, they'll go into arrangement view and then you can fix them there. And also like if you hit record and then you're tweaking knobs, like you tweak a filter, it'll record that as well and that'll all go in. So anything you do in session view, if it's on record, it'll go into arrangement view, it'll be there.
Where do you drop the effects for each loop? Is that possible or it's going to
just like each channel has, as you click on them, just this bottom row here, that's the chain. So you just drop the effects there. So you just there. Or else on the actual channel itself, doesn't make a difference. Either one, and it'll drop there. Anything else? No? Alright, thank you, I hope that made sense.
Oh, nice one.
won't buy that.
Check my keyboard.
Yeah.
notice about most tracks that everything kind of goes in fours. So the beat is 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then that's 1, and then times that by 4, something changes by 4, by 4, by 4. But you don't have to follow that rule. So it's up to you, really. Anything. The best thing I can say to any is that it's up to you to like open these programs and mess with them yourselves, because I was never taught how to use them, and lots of people, like some people know a lot about them, but you know, get caught up in knowing so much about them. So kind of know what you want to do, and then go and try and do it. And if you know, if there's something that you hear that you want to know how to do, like it's really easy to find out how to do it. If you're on like YouTube, I learned a lot of stuff from YouTube, believe it or not, and you can just type in, if you're making a beat, like after a while you get used to using the software, you want to know something and you don't know how to do it, don't be frustrated and just find, like if you can find out the name, or a mate who knows what the name is, type in stuff into YouTube. You'll get guys that do tutorials and they're real neat in the edit and all, so you won't get bored and you can pause it and all and then go and do it and then go back and, you know. So we'll play a song for now, just to get like the beats, so you can have a listen to the structure of the song. Anyone want to name a song? What is it?
Hold up.
Sorry? Someone put their hand up.
Logo, fix it.
Logo?
Fix it.
Sorry, I just got Logo. Right, Logo remix of Dave Devilier Jam. Right, so most dance tracks are made with the dance floor in mind, so they're made like for a DJ. So if you're a DJ already, it helps, you know, if you know the structure of a track, you know how you're gonna play a track. So when you're DJing, does everyone here DJ at least, or try to DJ? Yeah? Everyone put their hands up who's a DJ or tries to DJ. Or DJs in the room. Alright, so it's all DJs. So you know yourselves that if you get, some people count bars in songs, and like so other people do it, like they don't even, it just comes to them, you know. But it's good to be aware of 4/4 and the structure of a track. So 4, so like when you're mixing it, when the track is ending, you know, you're bringing in the start of another track, but that track hasn't built yet. So you're blending the two parts that there's not that much in, and then the other one should emerge through. So blending them together. So really good DJs, that's what they're really good at. And that's what years ago what DJs were good for, was blending music together really flawlessly and building and bringing, you know, a set upwards and downwards or whatever. So every song starts off differently, but it's up to you to decide what you want, whatever elements you have in your track, to you know, strip them all down and then build them up. Like, look at it like Lego, you know, you're starting off small and you're building it up and up and up and all the other stuff, and you can take stuff out and all, but it's laid out like that. So I'll just play this track and listen for the 4/4 structure, listen for the 1, 2, 3, 4, and then each time you'll notice something coming in, or just before it, like say half a bar, something will happen or something will take out to let you know that the next beat's coming in or something else is coming in. So just have a listen and just get an idea for how a track is laid out. So just a little basic beat that you'd be mixing into another track, so you wouldn't really hear it, you know what I mean? So when this track is 8, so it's going for 4 and then another 4 the same, and then something should happen now. The kick come in there. So everywhere we take the other track out. to you though as well. Like, you know, you can change. Some people change like certain things a lot more than others. In house and techno, you find that not that much changes, like, but it's good quality changes. You know what I mean? It's not like loads of random stuff happening. It's like nice and build up. Like, it'll start off small, but everything builds up on top of each other, like building blocks. So, is there any questions about that, or anything you have any questions about that? No? The layout of tracks. It's all into house or techno at least, like 4/4 beats, yeah, or hip hop probably. Right, so I'll go to the breakdown or the build up then. So, this is just, like, this song, when you have a strong beat and when you have, like, you know, kicks or like subs that are really good, that all tie together really nicely. It doesn't take that much to you don't have to go wild doing loads of things. Like, most good tracks are just good ideas, you know, they sound good as well. When you're making music, always listen to what you're doing. Don't be worrying about, you know, oh, how do I do this, Just make sure that you're listening to what you're doing, because if you're true to yourself and you make a beat, you listen back to it, you know it sounds crap, but don't just go, it sounds crap. Go, like, why is it crap? Like, you know, what's wrong with it? You know, like, I need to put more bass in it or something like that. You know what I mean? Think about them things. Like, listen to what you're doing. That's what makes tracks better. But when you're in this track, like this next little bit, it just adds in like a little kind of like chopped up little. It's like a little synthy thing, but it just shows when it comes in. It's really subtle, but it brings the energy of the track up really. You know, and it's only such a small thing. And if you seen that. If you were making that, like, you know, earlier when Frankie was showing you on Ableton, like, you know, if you were trying to think of that, like the little rhythm, like, you'll notice how small it is, how subtle they are, but it's about getting them right rather than worrying about getting so much stuff done. It's about getting them right, so have a listen to it anyway. It's still 4. It's actually 4, yeah, and it's 4. It's a rhythm, and then it's edited at towards the end of it. And then it's copy and pasted, and then it's edited towards the end of that as well. But it's slightly different. So it's the same beat, but just the end of it is changed each time. And then on the 4th one, then it's changed again. But then once you hear the 8 bars there, it's the exact same loop. It's the exact same rhythm again, pasted again. So a good thing to think when you're making beats as well is having good little catchy rhythms and making sure everything goes together in a bar first before you start copying and pasting it forward. And, you know, it starts off small and you can just do little subtle tricks to the beat you have. If you have a nice little beat going, just takes little like subtle tricks and little subtle movements to carry it on, you know. Copy and pasting. It's all copy and pasting. It depends, it's up to you though. You can do it whatever way you want, but that's the way most of the tracks and another thing as well is constantly when you're in whatever tracks that you all listen to, whatever tracks you are into, listen to the tracks. You know what I mean? Listen to the tracks. What is it that you like about them? Don't just listen to them and go, oh, that's deadly. Why is it deadly? You know? Just question, why is it deadly? What's deadly about it? Like, you know, what sound is it that you like? Is it the hats? Is it the rhythm? Is there some sort of reverb there? And after a while when you're producing, you can hear everything and you can hear, oh, he's doing that with that. Do you know what I mean? Because you're used to doing it. The more you do it, the more it just becomes fluent to you. And you can listen to the tracks and like, oh, he's doing that there, he's doing that there. And you could be like, oh, I could do that, I could do this here. But do it differently, you know, or do it a different way. So when that's an important part that everyone forgets is listening. You know what I mean? So, well, is there any more questions about arrangements? I'll go to the build-up now and just listen to a few of the elements of the build-up of a track, where there's nothing really in it. It's just kind of pitch bending and stuff. Something that you should be conscious of. Something you should be conscious of when you're producing, or if you want to produce. Like the main thing, one of the main things I'll say to you is that when you're going in to make a track, that you know what you want to do before you go in, or you have even an idea of what you want to do. Because if you go in and open up a program, you'll be messing with the buttons for hours and hours, and you won't actually get anything done. But if you have an idea before you go in, and you like say, I want to do this, I want to do this, don't stop till you get it done, you know, because then the rest is easy, you know. That's the only way it's get finished. You always hear people like that make beats and they're like, oh, I can't finish, I don't finish the tracks. And it happens to me as well. I'm like, can't finish tracks. It's because you can either just finish that project and go on to another one, or you can just end up keep doing that forever and you never get anything done. So sometimes it's good to just stick to things and finish them and export them. And my hard drive there about a week ago got wiped with about 5 years of stuff on it, like samples, all new tracks that I had for the label and loads of other things, and they were all just wiped as well. So another thing that I'd say to you is that you back up everything about 2 or 3 times, and because once you see, but even the tracks that I'd finished, I put out, I'd sent out or getting released or whatever, they were WAVs or whatever, so at least I'd have the WAVs, but the other tracks I was working on, like 6 or 7 of them were gone, so I didn't even have, they weren't on the internet anywhere, so I couldn't get them, so they're gone now. But so that's another thing to be aware of. Make sure you back everything up. If you're working on precious work, make sure that you have it saved properly, you know.
Right.
Otherwise,
always save as well. If you're making a track, like never just keep saving over the same one. Always like save as if you change something, so then you can go back to it. And also see more than one type of it.
Yeah, like another thing is, I don't know if you said it, or well, you kind of did say it. One thing when you're going into the workflow of making a tune, you're eventually gonna have your own workflow. You're eventually, if you keep at it, you know, it's up to you to learn yourself. Like, you know, that's the best way to learn, I think. Anyway, it's up to you to keep trying, and then when you come to a problem or whatever, ask people. You know, ask people. I need to know this done, or I need help with this. But make sure you learn on yourself, because that way then you won't need to keep going to people. You know, you learn yourself once and you won't need to do it again. But the layout of your, when you open a document, you can set up a template, is what it's called. And a template is just a saved workspace or workflow that you've built yourself that eventually is handy to you. Like, you know, you have your drum rack out, you have your synths out, you have your delays all hooked up and all. And that takes, to get a good template can take a year, but like, you know, it's all little tweaks that you do to yourself. And once you have that down, then you can just save that with not really that many samples in it, and then use that every time you start, so that you don't get bored when you start making a track. You know, sometimes you get bored and you open it up and you're like making a little drum loop, and then, you know, you're bored, then you save your drum loop and then you go back, you know, you're just still working on the same thing. But after a while, if you get everything locked down, you finish your first track, whatever, then you have your workspace there, and when you go into Ableton or Reason or whatever it is, you just open it up, and open the workspace up, and it'll be there for you, and then all you really do is change the sounds or change the samples that you use. So so just want me to make a little beat with this, just so you can get an idea of how like this program works. Yeah? And don't be afraid to throw your hands up and ask questions as I'm going along, because
Go for it. How do you change the click sound?
the click sound,
Yeah. The
How-
humming sound.
how do you change that? How do you, I only know,
Change like two different sound. Click sound.
I don't know how to do that. I just know how to turn it on and on. Alright, so I won't know the answer to a lot of stuff as well, because I learned myself, so I might do things wrong in comparison to somebody who went to school and learned it properly and all. But like, it's all the same really. You know, it's like somebody saying you're playing a guitar wrong or something. It's just, it's up to you to learn it yourselves, you know, that way. It's like, that's how you figure out how to use it, because everyone does everything differently, you know. Even people that are taught how to do it, they all start and make tracks differently, so it's different for everyone. But if I was starting up a track, I'd first of all I'd open up Redrum. Then most of these kicks and all in Reason are crap, like they're just weak, they sound weak, but if you can listen to that, you can't hear it on them speakers at all. When you're at home, you're probably better off either using really good headphones, buying a set of really good headphones is the best one, because monitors are expensive, and if you're only starting off, you don't want to be spending loads of money on your stuff, so just buy a set of good headphones, and then like yeah, when you're choosing a kick, like choosing everything in a track is the most important thing. Everything you put in a track, you can't just throw a hat in it, you can't just throw anything in. Everything you put in a track has to sound good to you, or it has to be there for a reason. That's what I believe anyway. There's no point in me, if I just start off now making a beat with this drum kick, which I'll probably do anyway, it's like, it's not, the track's going to be limited to that kick drum forever, you know, like, whereas if I have a kicking kick, and then I have a kick and hat that sounds exactly what I want, and I have everything else so it sounds what I want, the track will sound better straight away, you know what I mean? A lot of people, I hear my mates that send me tracks and stuff, and they send me tracks and they're like, they're able to make a track, they're good at making a track, like they can lay it out and they know how to work the software, but all the sounds in it are crap, like the hats in it are crap, they're not that they're crap, they're just like weak, or they're thin, or they don't sound proper, they don't sound like they're someone hitting the table, or you know. When you're in a club, like the tracks that drive you mad are the tracks that have good sample, like good kicks, good punchy kicks, good claps, you know. Everything sounds good, so that's another thing.
Where'd you get good sounds? You can just download them off the internet.
You can download them, yeah. Sample packs are good, but you see, sample packs are just there to make money. So if you do research on the internet and get packs that a lot of DJs use, like you can find out what packs producers use, and then it's up to you to choose them, like to choose which kicks are good. You know what I mean? If you can tell the difference between a good kick and a bad kick, to you personally, because it's your personal choice, because the good kick to me might be different to everyone here or everyone wherever. But it's up to just getting a kick in a club track. I like is a big subby kick, you know, that the speakers are gonna wobble with. So to get a kick like that, just go and do a bit of research online for sample packs, you know, and then also a good ways to do it is don't be like electro house sample packs or you know tech house sample packs, because they're just there to sell you them, and there's gonna be about 4 good ones and the rest will be shy. So go to like, you know, real sound samples, like, you know, that they record in studios and all for real instruments, like real hats, real snares, if you want that sound, or other tribal stuff, or congas or whatever you want. Make sure they're good quality, that they're not just, you know, packaged to get out, because there's loads of crap, like sample packs that you go to, and there's just like piles of shit, and you're just like that for hours.
You can also put like layer samples as well, like if a snare sounds shit, then put another sample below it, and like 3 snare sounds, and like EQ them all so they all fit together and make a much bigger snare than just one of them on their own. That is also good.
Yeah, layering kicks, or layering, where's the, layering, layering like samples, like Frank said, is a good idea as well. If you want to get different original sounds, like all my old kicks that I had, like they're all got deleted now, but I had like hats that like two of my favourite hats, and one of them would be high, one would be low, and I'd have them on top of each other and mix down perfectly and EQ'd and all, and then like you know exported as that hat, so that'd be my hat then, and not, you know what I mean. So you can mess with all the instrument stuff so that you have your own style. And a good thing to do is start a folder with your kicks, start a folder with your hats, start a folder with your claps, and they're your claps, you know, like that no one else has. So that's a good thing to do as well. Right, so there's no sample. Right, have you got samples, Sally, that I can use?
Like just the copy.
Just the default. I should be good. Maybe they're right, and then I'll just use the. I have no samples here, but what you do when you're getting a sample is you click that little loading folder out there, right? Each one of these here, this, they're all channels, right? And they're all linked into the back of this, and then this wire goes, there's the output, and it goes up into the line mixer there, so it's in a channel. So if you press the tab button on this, it flips around to the reason I like, one of the reasons I like it is because it looks, it makes sense, like it's just built on what really like mixers look like. That's a mixer there, and that's how it's plugged in and all, you know what I mean? And if you had that mixer in a studio in real life, that's what it'd look like, you know, only this is cartoony, but all the software, like the reverbs and all, are pretty much based on real stuff. So it's a good way of, you know, knowing that something's plugged in. Like if you want to plug this into this. Like for instance, if I wanted the drums to come in, if I'm using, where's the, right? See the way the snares come up here. Do you have this link now? Right then. So here's the snare, right? And all the re-drum stuff. All the re-drum stuff's gonna be coming out of our channel number 2, right? But just to show you like how good reason is for that kind of thing. If you plug, right, the master output wires are there, right? See that? And if you plug them into, they're in 2 now, but you can plug them into 3, like that basically. It's fine, they're in 3 now if you want them in 3. And then you can just click that, and it's in 3 now. That just shows you, like, you know, that it makes sense in your head, like, oh, that wire's there, so just plug it in there, you know. So it's easier sometimes, like, that's the thing I find that I can't get into Ableton, is that there's a lot of, you know, A1, B1, and like linking it all up, and like I'd rather see, it's just because I have a habit of seeing the wire and dragging it in, you know, a lot of the stuff is like that. But that's alright. So right, so you can use this is good.
I don't mean to tell you, but I have to kind of move all the rails. This is a leak. Just a bit more this way, so we can move the equipment and stuff. Sorry lads.
You need to move all this, yeah?
Stand. We really just need to move the speaker.
Minutes left. Battery.
Right, so when you're making beats with this particular drum machine, all of these channel things here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, see them down there, yeah? Each one of them is a channel for loading in your different drum racks, so it's like having a drum machine set up, right? So you can load in there whatever your samples are, and that's a good thing to have, is like your little sample packs or your little samples you collected, right, and gone in to make a beat, and then you just go bang, and you load up you go into your computer and you load up whatever you want, right, and then you put it in each channel, there, and then you can make, see these little buttons here. See them little buttons there? They're for patterns. So this is no pattern number 1. So whatever beat I make here is gonna be assigned to that like number there. So I can copy and paste that pattern then onto my main beat, you know, the long thing, the automation. So you start off making your beat or whatever. I'll have to get this drum back somewhere. Right, I don't know where the drums are. Right, so I'll just do the snares out. These are all the stuff this is all the stuff that's loaded into the drum machine, right? For now, that's just loaded in anyway. So you can change all these to whatever you want. We can use this as the kick, right? Just for the laugh.
What's the difference between this and the rack that's on top of it?
The rack that's on top of it.
Between reed drum and the gong.
I haven't used this yet. I was on Reason 4 until like a few days ago when my laptop got weak and now Reason 5. So this sounds deadly. Like.
No go down one.
Yeah, this is good. That's a bit fun.
Can you with that? Can you change the those ones as well?
Sure you can actually.
Like from like there. You can change.
Where's the little cameo? They're like
currently doing reed drum. That's reed drum now. Is it? Yeah.
Alright, well, we'll use this for now, right? Right, see that drum there? If you were making a house track, you wouldn't really use a drum kick like this. But if you, like, just out of the sound of it now, you can't really hear it clearly on that. But if you wanted to make it house beat or whatever, and you were putting in your 4/4 beat, you go bang, bang, bang. And you've got 4 there. Wait, that's not. Yeah, right, so there. So that's your little 4 beat there. Wait, I'll turn down that. Right, so you hear the way that's a bit long. You hear the way the kick is a bit long, but it's long. I'm sure that you want to feel everything that's in you just see the little wire or the little knob there, length. When you shorten it, you hear the kick shorten, like. So then it's short on it, right? So you have space on your beat, so but it still sounds a bit high, sounds a bit ticky. You go for it.
Keep the whole that goes after.
And you what? Yeah. Yeah, you can keep that, no problem if you want, right? But what's going to happen is you can keep it to a certain degree, but you see, you can't hear it on these because when you go into the sounds of things, you have to listen really carefully, and you can't really hear it clearly on them. But yeah, if you want to keep the hum there, what you do is you shorten it back so that it's going hum, and then it's just stopping before the next one's coming in, because you don't want it going over into the other kicks, you know what I mean? You want to just stop short of it, so you can keep the kicks going. But whatever, another thing to bear in mind is when you're making a track, there's only mid, high and low, and then, you know, all the in-betweens. But when you're making a track, if you have loads of bass in your track, like humming bass, like, you can't really, it's gonna swallow up other things in the mix, you know. You have to have a perfect balance, have to be in perfect harmony with like the amount of bass you want, with the amount of highs, with the amount of mids. So it's like, that's what EQing is for, so that everything fits in the mix, you know, so that the low end of the speaker's playing the kick and then the high end's playing up on the top, so that they're not playing all shoe muddled together, right? So let this drum now, if you want to keep the horn, it's a bit short, so yeah, that's enough, isn't it? And now it sounds a bit hoarse, so I personally lower that down a bit to change the pitch. Making it a tiny bit shorter. Right, so there's a kick drum right for now. It's still a bit dramatic, but it's there, right? Toms are good for getting your low end rhythm going, like in your kicks off, your kick there. Oh yeah, see the little yellow button there and clicking 5? That means I've selected this instrument here, or this like sample. So now I want to go on to my next thing and layer up my beat, so click that. And then now you see the way the kicks are gone now because the lights are off because I'm on a fresh thing. So I'm gonna place them, but the kicks are still there, right? Bear in mind the kicks are still there, but this is just me tom now I'm putting in. So I put me toms here and here to give it a bit of rhythm. So let's have a listen. And you can hear the toms are real long, so I'm gonna shorten them again. Beat on, right? Now you want to put in other stuff like here's a little snare beat. So there's the little what's it called? Soca. I think it's soca. It's like African beat. But you hear it anyway. It's a little one before the kick and then in the centre where the hat would be all along. So. Here's the way the snare is kind of clashing with the second tom. You know, it's kind of clashing with the second tom. So what I do there is there's a level between them. So there's a little beat. I'll speed it up a bit. It's a bit slow. So see down here. Can you see that? That's the beat, you know, beat per minute, yeah? 122 beats per minute, so in 60 seconds, it's going 122 beats, like the kick is 122 times, so we want to speed it up. Most house tracks and all, dance tracks are around 128, and then anything faster than that, like, you know, hardcore, hard dance and all is like 45, 50, and drum and bass is 160 around, so speed it up to like house beat and see what it sounds like. I'll take it back down just so you can hear the change. Like, so. There's a little beat. And you want to put in hats there. You can take a rhythm going with your hats like on the normal bass in between notes there. Like. See this little button there? See the little button there, the little light that's off? I don't know how to work it exactly, but it's good. I know this little thing here. Click that and then see our global shuffle. When this is shuffle, it's mad, it's not complicated, but it just moves it just moves everything slightly off the exact notes, do you know what I mean? So when everything's sounds real flat, if you want to give it a bit of shuffle, this global shuffle is good. So say I'll turn it on first, so that's our regroove mixer there, but I'm going to turn the shuffle on. I'll put the beat on first and then I'll press it and see will you notice the difference, right? Here's a little shuffle in it. Now when you put it on, it's a bit slower, it's like someone was really banging it. the shuffle, a good way to do it as well is, right, if I want to put this on me, if I want to put this beat on me automation now, I just go, I click edit, and I go copy pattern, right, and oh no, where's paste pattern? Oh, I can't paste the pattern yet. Right, I'll click in here, and then I'll click, yeah, there, and then
Return.
I'm just away, I don't know why that's not on. Right, copy. Right there, I think that's.
Just create, then record it.
So there, I'm after recording it in right there. So now it should be the same beat here. So if I stretch this down into 2. Okay, so see there's the beat there, so I'm gonna stretch it like that, and then I'm gonna Control C and then Control V, paste it along and delete that. There's a beat now. So say if I right wanted to have my beat build up, so I'd go, I don't want everything to come in at once, I want it to have a little build. So I'm going A1 first and then so I'm going to click it and then I'm going copy pattern, and I'm putting in, when I press 2 there's nothing there because I didn't make a pattern there. So then I'm going to paste it in there, right? And then I'm going to paste it into number 3 as well. And then number 4 as well. So it's the same beat in every one, right? It's the same beat in every part. So I'm gonna go back and take stuff out of it so that sounds like it's building up. So I'll go back to number 3. And I'll go back to number 1 and make the take out. So if you're working on your beats there, you get your progression and you spread them out, so then when you go back into your arrangement, then you're able to, you know, put the first, you know, build it up like building blocks. Like you don't want the track to be starting off in full flow, you want it to build up. So I'll delete that now. I'll delete 3 now. So now see that didn't paste anything. Zoom it. No, sure, just go in. Copy pattern to track. Can you see it? There it is. See, it's down here. I didn't see it. Right, copy pattern to track. There it is there, right? So then I'm going to move these left and right slider yokes over to the next 2. We'll go 4, because when we were listening to the track earlier it was 4. So there. Now the 2 selection things up there means that I'm working on that, so I'll go back to my thing, then I change the pattern number 2, see that? And then I go paste, copy pattern to track, copy pattern to track. And then I go up to my next one. We're going to go 4, so. That's not right. The reason that's happening is because I have this turned on. I'll turn it off. So that when you're on the automation, it's not playing.
I think you copy over the first one.
So then we want it. Another way you can just edit it in here as well. So you see the beats there. So then next you don't want you don't want them coming in yet. So just copy that over. And then you want to take them out. So now yeah, they're not on because there's no sample there. But so there's your little snares coming in there. So copy our snares over. So it's building. So there you can hear that. So then if you wanted to copy and paste that whatever to the next beat or whatever you wanted to do. So there, that's how you use Reason for a beat anyway. You make your first little beat. So any questions? You got any questions?
But that changing from 1 to 2 or 2 to 3, you need to change it on the beat, or was it just finish the last beat and go on the next one?
When I'm changing the patterns, you mean?
Yeah.
When I'm changing the patterns, what do you mean, go again?
Like when you're going from 1 to 2 and clicking on it, do you need to wait for the first pattern to finish to go to 2 and click it, or does it finish pattern 1?
If you're making it,
So you need to do it on.
you need when I'm making it in this thing, you mean? When I'm making the patterns here, is it? Is that what you mean?
No, I'm thinking it's something else.
Alright. Well, if you're making a pattern, you make it whatever way. Like you start off. I'd start off. Make your full beat. What's going to be your main beat, and then take stuff out of it. Whatever sounds best, you know, and then work backwards so that you know what it's going to sound like when it kicks in. So you're teasing people into it. So you can have a listen to that now. So there you go, right? It's gonna start off like, and remember I was saying earlier when everything's going in 4s or 8s or whatever, and then you can just slightly edit stuff, just slightly, and it makes it sound better. We'll do some of that in here. So here's our beat in here. You can see our beat there. So we'll zoom in here, right? So this is the 4th bar. So we're gonna put a little switch up here. So, right, so I've got, so I've got 3 of them. So, so then if you wanted to copy and paste that, whatever, and then you can just slide the edit stuff, Let me see. What else will I do? I make a little build up. Will I take some stuff out or something like that? I just get he's with me. Like, he's bored. If he's bored, so let me know. Let me know what you want me to do, or if there's any questions. Have you got any questions you're interested in?
It's just when you're making a track, you do the little drum for the whole track first, and then from there just keep adding in like synths or whatever from there, or you just do a bit of a loop and then add in something, then go back to loop and add in another bit.
Yeah, I do that. It's a mixture, but I'd have me main, like what I was saying earlier, before you start the track, have an idea of what you want to do first. So have an idea of what you want. So like in my head when I started off and I was listening to that kick, it was like this big long kick. Have an idea of what you want to do with that kick, because if you like certain stuff and all sounds better certain ways, so you're better off doing your main beat first that you're happy with and it sounds good, that people aren't gonna get sick of, right? My main beat sounds good, right? And then work backwards or add on top of that, whatever. Or you can work with a sample first and then work your beat around the sample. If you're using a sample or you have some rhythm that you want to put in, you can just do that as well. So the best way to start off is getting your beat right, and then get what you can imagine it nearly kicking in, like your main beat, like have it sorted like that, and then take stuff out of it, take elements out of it, so that when you're mixing it in a club or whatever, that you're starting off and it's not all just starting at once. So is there any more questions?
So yeah, build up that last one, about a minute, would it? Start about a minute and a half.
Yeah, it's up to you, right? It depends, different in tracks. Like sometimes build-ups that are real predictable as well. Like kind of boring, like because you just know it's gonna build and it's gonna build and then it drops, and you can do stuff where it builds up, and then it just echoes out, and then it comes in or something. Because like the whole idea of making a dance track is that you're gonna get a reaction out of the crowd. So just bear that in mind when you're making a track. If you want the build to keep going, you can. Some tracks like go on for like ages building up. Like what's that tune? You know that tune, Total Departure?
Yeah, that way Chris. Yeah,
just keeps building throughout the whole track.
Does that track ever drop before, or is it just a build? Like, is there any drop in that track? No.
That track, it kind of drops like twice or something in it, kind of subtly, but it just keeps going. So but yeah. It's an early track. Hear the track now, the way it's the exact same. Just the beats there off now. It's adding in every 4 beats. The bass line. The bass line. It's notes. Let me hear. It's like just a bass line like that he has like underneath kicks just going. But that's what you should be doing, listening to tracks and going, what is it? What is it? Trying to figure it out yourself and go, what is that noise? Listen to it. You hear it. You know what I mean?
You're jumping the bass line. You take one bass sound and change it on bass line.
Yeah. Yeah.
I saw him doing
In reason, yeah, open up the program. Yeah, it depends, right? All these are synthesizers, so it's up to you to pick what synthesizer you want. So they're all synthesizers. So I don't know. Let's go for no. Talk. So have you got it? So that's like a mad like synthy thing, but we don't want that. We want the right click it and go initialize patch, and that just deletes everything off it, and it's just a white blank patch like synth starting off like an analog. So it's just raw. That's the best way to start off. So then you can hear, you can build your own noise. Do you know what I mean? So if you wanted to make a drum beat, well, you know that that's too high. So we go down an octave. Instead of that, right? And then we go down to see these little triangle, square. No, that's a triangle there. These all have different sounds. So I'll just play that. Just play this. Right, I'll get the. Let's see. See down here the amp. The sustain there is the length of the note. So if you want to do a beat, like, you know, and you want to hold the note, you put the sustain to the top. So see, it's up to you. That if you just mess around with that, you'll figure out that that's the one you want. There. So that's a little. Right. So then you can just write out your beat, whatever you want, or you can draw in your beat. So that rather than going through all the messy things there yourself, you just have to create that yourself. You don't have just a signal, you have a sine wave. That's what you want, or a triangle wave. Right? Real subby bass like that. It's extreme. You can just edit it whatever way you want. You can throw a bit of distortion on it if you want. But it's up to you, you know? Like, distortion is like, makes it sound different, like, so. When you click on your tar, the fact that I made the tar now shows that up there, so it pops up there, so you can just draw in your little notes there. But if you want as well, you can go like this, and you can drop one of these down here, right? And it's going to play them notes out like the same notes as your drum. You can delete all them, well, no, delete them. Just to see what it sounds like if you want to mess around. The reason it's real clicky is because the notes are real short. So if you want to make a bass line, you click in. So make your notes longer because they're like that. There's a little kick and bass on it. So there, that's pretty much it. There's anything else that you want to know quickly?
Use that for live as well, mostly the pads.
What?
You play on the pads and use it. You have different settings for all the pads.
Yeah, yeah. The thing I was doing there was the notes, like that's an hour. That's what, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like a whole sheet, a whole template for all of them. Basically, you do like a beat, use it.
Yeah, you can. Yeah. But what I'd recommend if you're making a bass line is to do exactly what you do with your drums. Like if you were to make a bass line out of this, right, and you didn't want to kick in all at once, right, I'd copy and paste that, and then say you start off the track where that just goes with that. Like start off your track where it's just like that, and then when it goes along, the bass line kicks in there. You know what I mean? Like.
I'd be more comfortable doing it like live and recording it.
What?
I'd be more comfortable like doing it live, trying to record it and then.
I wouldn't, but you can. People do if you want. But you see, you can't. You're better off if you're gonna record something. Record it, fix it, and then copy and paste it. Yeah.
Figure out what you're doing first.
Yeah, and then copy and paste it. Yeah, so there. Yeah, that's from me. Anyway, I hope you learn something from it. I hope you take it up and do something with it. You want it. Alright.